If you've been considering buying a home, would you be interested in saving tens of thousands of dollars on your Frisco, Texas home purchase? Well, what if I told you that timing your move just right could make all the difference? Now, the real estate market here in Frisco, Texas, it ebbs and flows throughout the year. And in this video, I'm going to show you what many savvy home buyers already know. And that's how to take advantage of these year over year market shifts to secure the absolute best possible deal. Now, before I dive into this strategy, I want to invite you to stick around to the end of this video when I'm going to share with you a bonus technique or a bonus strategy, if you like, that could save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on your next home purchase. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team, eXp Realty here in Frisco, Texas. And I specialize in helping buyers just like you navigate our ever-changing real estate market to find the perfect home at the best possible price. Now, with that in mind, let's get into how you can save big in today's market. Now, as mentioned, the market in Frisco, Texas ebbs and flows. And Frisco home prices follow a very predictable pattern. It's very seasonal, to be honest with you. We start the year off and you start to see pricing and inventory go up all the way through the spring. Prices then peak in the summer and then actually start to decline as we move into the fall before this whole thing kind of resets in January and they start to move up again. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to share my screen and show you how these prices change year over year. All right, so what we're looking at here is the pricing here in Frisco. And I've only gone back a couple of years. I've kind of taken the COVID period out as it's kind of it still did the exact same thing. Don't get me wrong. It just shifted the graph lines further back in the year than we normally see. So right here, going back to 2022, you can see that prices, here we are in May, they did their climb up before peaking right at the end of July, beginning of August. Prices then seemed to trend all the way down. Last year in 2023, they trended down all the way into February due to the fact of what mortgage rates were doing. But they still followed that same pattern we see every year. And here we go. Pricing ran up again all the way into July of last year, late July, and then they started to fall again. They finished their decline the very end of December. We get into January, and here we go. The pattern started again. And this year, they actually peaked a little bit earlier in June. Again, more to do with mortgage rate timing and what was going on with rates and also inventory growing, but they did peak and now they are starting to come down once again. So as you can see, it is a very predictable pattern. We see the exact same thing year over year. But this year, we are starting to notice something a little bit different, or I should say that there's a situation that's a little bit different than we've seen in the past. And that is the fact that inventory, which as we know had been growing, has fallen. It started to turn and fall, but that fall is coinciding with finally falling mortgage rates. Here's what that looks like. So when we take a look at the inventory, it also follows a pattern that's very, very similar to what we see with home prices. You start to see inventory build. As we all know, the spring is the selling season. It's the busiest time of the year. We see that inventory build up greatly all the way through the spring, and then we start to see it decline. This goes all the way, I didn't zoom in on this one. This goes back all the way to 2020, but as you can see, we actually saw inventory bottom out in February. That's to do with the lock, or right as we started to see it build, we had all the COVID lockdowns go into effect. So it plummeted for the rest of that year. But here in 2021, inventory picked up, peaked in August, September, dipped again. Inventory went up in 22, peaked in August, dipped again. Same in 23. And we are seeing the exact same thing here in 2024. Right here on the far right side of this graph, for the last 3 weeks, the amount of inventory available in Frisco has been falling. It's not falling dramatically due to the fact that homes are still selling much slower than they have been. But the point I'm making here is it has turned. An inventory should now continue to decline through the end of the year. But as mentioned, there's a situation playing out this year that may throw a monkey wrench into all of that, because although inventory is falling, we now have falling mortgage rates. And as we all know, when mortgage rates drop, it usually brings buyers back into the market, which could in fact prevent home prices from falling as much as they typically do this fall. Now, saying that, the question becomes is how much is it going to take mortgage rates to fall to bring buyers back? And it's a question no one can adequately answer, to be honest with you. We have seen an uptick in mortgage applications in the last few weeks as mortgage rates have come down. And I will let you know, I have seen a slight uptick in sales, at least the homes going under contract. That time period was really expanding out here in Frisco in April, May, and June. As rates started to come down for the listings that went up later in July and August, we're seeing many of those start to go under contract a little bit quicker than they had been earlier in the year. So with that in mind, as there are fewer homes on the market and potentially more buyers entering the market, waiting for prices to drop may not work out as planned. You could end up in a much more competitive situation than you had expected. Because typically, I'll be honest, many of the buyers that are able to, and I know it's not everyone, but many that are able to, that would go ahead and execute a purchase in the fall are typically paying the least amount they would be for a house at any other time in the year. And I can tell you that right now, there are some phenomenal deals out there, and you are seeing more motivated sellers than we have seen at any time over the past several years. Now, if you want to stay up to date on the market trends and receive these same reports in your email inbox each and every week, then I invite you to sign up for my weekly market report. As mentioned, those two graphs I showed you come directly from that report. It is available for every single city and zip code in the entire country, and I've got a link for it in the description below where you can go ahead and sign up, and that will be sent out to you each and every week. Now, although the fall and winter may be the best time to buy a home from a pricing perspective, I understand that that doesn't work out for everyone. Doesn't exactly fit with school plans and things like that very well. So with that in mind, what about the future? What about if you just go ahead and wait until 2025? And although nobody knows for sure, the first expert forecasts on what the market is likely to do are starting to be released. And guess what? They aren't expecting the market to drop significantly. Now, keep in mind, the forecasts that I'm going to share with you in just a moment are for the national market, but there's nothing to suggest that we are going to see anything significant here in Frisco to the negative, or the North Texas area, to be honest with you, especially considering Frisco, as you may have recently seen, was just named the #2 real estate market in the entire nation by Wallet Hub. McKinney was #1, by the way, and Allen and Denton also made the top 10, which just goes to show how strong our real estate markets here in North Texas. And so if you're expecting there to be a big change next year, again, there's nothing in any of the leading indicators to show that that is even possible. But what about the election, you might ask? Well, thank you for asking. And I know it's an election year, but if we look at past presidential elections as a guide, then both home prices and total home sales tend to go up in the year following an election, which happens to match what the experts are predicting. So let's take a look at that. All right, so this screen that you're looking at here, this is actually from a more of a general real estate blog that I put out. If you're interested in it, just send me a message and I'll get you a link to it. But this is talking about what the latest predictions are for 2025. And if we look at mortgage rates first, as you can see, mortgage rates play a significant role in the housing market, as we know, and the forecast for 2025 are just been released for Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, the National Association of Realtors, and Wells Fargo. So they are looking at an average between all of them of 6.46% for the fourth quarter of 2024. That's probably a little high because we're there already, and I do expect rates to continue to fall. They're looking at 6.3% for the first quarter of 25, 6.19% for the second quarter of 25, then down near 6% for the third quarter, and then just under 6% for the fourth quarter. So you can see 5.98 is the average, but all of them except the National Association of Realtors are predicting rates below 6% by the fourth quarter of 2025. So it begs the question, should you wait until this time next year and follow the strategy I just suggested? Maybe. That might absolutely be the best situation or best strategy for you, depending upon your situation. I will say prices are likely to be a little bit higher based upon what we're looking at right now, but it's a strategy that could work. Alternatively, if you were able to lock something in before then, you could always refi, and many of the lenders will allow you to do that with no lender fees if you refi within the first 3 years or so. So that's another option for you to consider. Then you'd be able to lock in a lower home price and get the benefit of lower mortgage rates down the road. When we look at total home sales in 2025, they are all expecting it to go up. Now, to provide some reference to this, their expectations are home sales this year will be somewhere between 4 and 4.5 million homes. The latest numbers are starting to indicate it may be closer to 4.1, but you can see Fannie Mae are projecting 5.2 million, the Mortgage Bankers Association 5.2, and the National Association of Realtors 5.7. Average all those together at 5.4. Again, that ties in with what I mentioned before, more home sales in the year following an election, and this would indicate about 1 million more home sales than we will see this year. Now, if we move down to home prices, they're forecasting that home prices will go up moderately. But you can see here, more buyers ready to jump into the market will continue to put upward pressure on prices. So here is the latest home price appreciation forecast. And again, remember, this is national, and this just came out on August 27th. So this is the most recent there is. So you've got Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo, 4.4, 4.3%. You've got several of them there in the 3% range. And then the most pessimistic of everyone is Freddie Mac and Moody's Analytics, which are basically forecasting prices to be flat at 0.3 and 0.6. Average all of those together, and you have a home price forecast nationally of about 2.6%. Even though those home price appreciation from Moody's and Freddie Mac are fairly pessimistic, I think the most important thing to point out on that entire graph was the fact that no one was expecting prices to decline. Everyone is predicting positive price appreciation. Now, again, we're not talking the 10, 15, 20% from a couple of years ago. That's gone. It's not going to happen. But if mortgage rates fall a little bit quicker than expected and more buyers do come back in, a lot of it has to do with inventory because prices haven't fallen now due to the fact that supply has been so low relative to demand. That's kept a floor on home prices. And at least here in the Frisco area, I don't see anything indicating that that is going to change. Now, if you're thinking about buying a home in Frisco and you want to know if now is the right time for you, then let's talk about it. In the description below, I've got a link to my calendar where you can book a free, no obligation 30-minute phone or Zoom call, whatever your preference is. And I'd be happy to discuss your situation in more detail and provide you with the information that helps you make the decision that's best for you and your family. Now, before we wrap up, I want to thank you for sticking around. And I do have that bonus strategy I mentioned to you earlier that could save you even more money right now. And that strategy is quick move-in new construction homes. Not what you were expecting? Well, if you've been following my channel, then you'll know that it's nothing new from what I have been explaining for several months now on those offer some of the best opportunities. And I know this isn't the right option for everyone, but if it's an option you haven't considered it, then you might be missing out on some absolutely incredible deals. Now, I recently recorded a video showcasing a few of these deals to give you an example of what it is that you can get with these immediate move-in homes. And do you know the discounts in some cases were just over $400,000? Yes, 400,000. Not all of them, some of them. Some of the discounts were 50,000, some of them were 100, some were 200. Obviously depends on the price of the home, but they are absolutely incredible deals if you know where to find them. There is an absolute goldmine of an opportunity here for you. Now, to learn more about that, I've put a link to that video in the description below. So please go ahead and check that out after this video. Now, I'd like to thank you for watching today. And I hope that you found value in this video. And if you have, then I invite you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel as I release new videos just like this one each and every week to keep you updated on what is going on in our local real estate market. Now, make sure that you don't go anywhere because I know another video that you're going to absolutely love you can find right here, and it's coming up next.